Okay, you're on.
Am I audible? Do I sound like you can hear me clearly?
Why can't you see me?
Wave your hand. Yes, I see you move. I see you move. It worked.
Yay!
Nobody moved. Nobody moved from wherever they are. Everybody, all of you are in the right place.
Hi. I worked a few odd jobs in the past 7 years, and the perk was that I was lucky enough to meet people from all around the globe. And there's a considerable chunk of them who I would call the travelers. And some of them save up all year to go to the most beautiful corners of the world. Some of them just get up one day and decide to put a pin on the map and say, okay, I'm going to go there. And some of them quit their desk jobs to go work. And some of them pick work that will allow them to travel. And I live vicariously through all of their Instagram feeds. And this is take 20 of stories with Shastri, and I have Aditi Abhay coming on board. Aditi is a digital marketing professional, and you should check out her page. She travels, and she is someone who would much rather work in the mountains and live in the mountains. And I'm trying to find out which type she fits into today. So I'm just going to add her onto this and see how it goes.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I just made myself a cup of coffee because I realized I ran out of tea and I was, freaking out before the show. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, what do you have? I didn't see that.
Funny. I mean, that's my best.
Best. Best.
Yes.
It is, I realized it's the true adult drink. It's not coffee or alcohol, it's just water. It makes a lot of sense. Okay, so could you
Right.
tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I am a digital marketing professional and I like traveling. I like scribbling my thoughts. Sometimes I put them out, most of the times I don't. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, I live in Pune. I am originally from Ujjain, MP.
Okay.
So I have been outside, I've been living outside since last, I think, 12 years away from
Oh
my
wow.
parents.
Okay.
So yeah, that's about it.
What's it like living away from them?
Um, Initially tough, but
Mm-hmm.
I think you get used to it.
Right. And when was the first time you went on a trip anywhere?
Oh, that's uh, I think I must be 2 years old. I don't remember it properly, but yeah, there are some pictures, and I think my parents took me to Shimla or Manali, if I'm not if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are
And
some pictures. Yes.
right. And what made you, so you told me that you started traveling solo about 10 years ago, right?
Almost 9 years ago. Yes. Yeah.
So what brought that on? What made you decide to go and decide that, okay, I'm going to just check out this place?
So I was working in Delhi back then with Dainik Jagran, and this was 2012, middle of 2012. Delhi was not going through a good phase. I mean, the country, because the Nirbhaya case happened that time.
Yeah.
My parents wanted me to come home, and I wanted, like, I also, like, you could feel it, like it's time to leave the city. So I just thought I
Yeah.
might as well go to mountains once because definitely I was closer to them. And
Hmm.
I think I didn't have a lot of savings with me back then because it was my first job. So I just took some money and took a very budget-friendly trip to Parvati Valley, and that's about it. I think after that, I really felt conscious, and I mean, I started saving more for my travels, and it just felt like I have to be around mountains twice or thrice in a year. And yeah, I
Right.
think since then my efforts have been escaping back from the city, mountains, coming back and planning and seeing how well it goes.
That's pretty cool. I've never done that because, I think I've told you this in person also. I can count all the cities I've lived in or been to on my fingers. So, when you say that you wanted to go back to the mountains. Even while we were talking, you told me that, uh, if I had to pick between a mountain and a beach, I'd pick the mountain. I'm trying to
Yes.
understand where this debate started of, mountain or a beach.
It's become too cliched now. I mean, I like going to the beaches. I have been to most of the supersonics back on the
Yeah,
sands, but I think
yeah.
it's only for the festivals. Like a beach vacay is good for 2, 3 days. I think that's about my cap around the beaches. I don't know. It's just a feeling of it's a homely feeling in mountains.
Right. So that's a personal preference
It's a
from what I
personal,
get.
yes.
Right. And I know you're a music buff. So do you have any stories where, your world of music and your world of travel intertwine?
It did a couple of times. I remember it was 2014 and Above and Beyond were traveling, you would know,
Yeah.
to Goa
Yeah.
to headline Supersonic. And
Yeah.
I was, for a brief period of time, I was living in Bombay. I was not working, I was not employed back then. Yeah, I think for a few months. I wanted to attend them in Goa, and that was my first solo travel to Goa. Before that, I'd always gone with friends, and you don't usually go to Goa on your own. I mean, I've not heard of a lot of stories. So
Hmm.
I think yeah, that was it. I kind of had a hard time convincing my mom. I made a big hand sign of Above and Beyond's album, We Are All We Need, and
Yeah.
booked the bus, and yeah, I was in Goa. It was different. It was great. I met a lot of people. I'm friends with them. Most of them they live in Bombay, and it's
Yeah.
like we meet each other in the gigs. There was one time when I had traveled solo, and the second time I won't call it solo, but it was when Above and Beyond were performing in Hong Kong. This was 2 years back.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was lucky to win a ticket from Jet Airways in Submerge.
I saw,
So,
I saw. I saw it those
yes.
many years ago before I even met you. And I was like, who is this girl? How's she so lucky? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just lucky, and I won the contest because I put a picture of a mountain food of dal chawal. You will not believe it. That's about it.
What?
That's how I. Yeah, Submerge had this contest where they had to pick up a winner from Twitter and Instagram, and you have to put a
Yeah.
picture of the most authentic food that you've tried. And I mean, I had that picture which was nicely, the perspective was correct, and it was dal, chawal, chutney, and sabzi. And that's about it. I think, yeah, I didn't think much while posting, and I was lucky. So, yeah, that was the
Yeah.
second time I traveled to visit a festival, and I had a lot of friends from Mumbai who were traveling to Hong Kong, but it was kind of solo, kind of mixed both. So, yeah, I think these 2 times.
Coming back to Goa, I have never been to Goa. So, and a lot of people, they look at me and they wonder what is wrong with me. But I mean, just because I feel like I have blamed Dil Chahta Hai and Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara for the tourism of Goa and Spain. However, I want to understand how safe is it for women to travel solo? This was a question that was sent in to me earlier, and I want to get a little insight on how safe is it, do you think it is?
Okay, so as per my experience, I will talk about India first because most of my experiences are within the country. I
Right.
have felt safe within the country, but I will not lie. Every time I stepped out on my own, there's one thing called travel anxiety, which I think most of us have when we are, you know, just on boarding a plane or sitting on a train. But apart from that, when you are going to a new place, you kind of there's a bit of nervousness that comes along, right? So uh, you do feel scary. I'm not saying that you don't feel scary, but I've had people are good. You just have to trust people outside, and in my experience and the stories that I've heard of people traveling, mostly people are good. You just have to be a little more trusting towards them, and of course be confident when you're reaching out. You may be not feeling confident, you may be nervous, you may be scary, but you don't really have to kind of show it on your face. Basically, just be
Right.
a little safe, play a little safe, do a proper research, know where you're headed. If you're not willing to go in a public transport, it's okay to book a cab or you know to if you're in the country, outside the country, it's okay. But at least you know where you're headed. And mostly the tourism industry in India, in respect to the North India and the Northeast India, people are, I mean, they're mountain people. They're very simple. I've had a good experience with them, but yeah, you have to kind of be on your toes till the time you are in a safe setup.
Right. And when you're traveling solo and say something goes wrong, right? It could be anything. What is the contingency plan that you follow? Like, do you have a particular support system in place, or do you have a list of things you do when things go wrong?
Yes, yes. So okay. Adding on to the last question and for extending this question, this I won't call it a support system, but mostly when I'm traveling solo within the country, outside the country, the first preference that I have to stay is definitely a hostel. And like lately, hostels also provide a private accommodation. Like you don't always have to share a dorm. There is a dorm,
Yeah.
there is a female dorm, co-ed
Yeah.
dorm, a separate room. So that's the first preference. You check in there, you meet people, and most of the times, if you're traveling in the traveling season, you find people you gel up with, you talk a bit,
Yeah.
and you exchange the number with them, and you also exchange your number with the property that you're staying in.
Right.
So, you know, it's and people are sensitive. Like if I'm giving a call to my to the admin guy who's taking care of the hostel, they do I mean, they do respond to you. So I think the local support system that you have around you when you're traveling is good. For example, if I'm taking a cab to a certain place and I'm comfortable sitting in the cab with the driver, most people exchange numbers. It's a way how they also earn their livelihood. And you prefer traveling in the same, with the same person that you're comfortable
Yeah.
with. So, yeah, I think that's one of the things that can be in your favor when you're traveling solo is look out to stay in hostels. You can have your private accommodation in the hostel property as well. Plus, there are so many people you meet, you sit, you talk, you want to have your own solo plan, you go wander in the city, wander in the around the place, you want to travel with them, you make plans with them. So I think it's pretty flexible like that.
Right.
This
So
thing happened when so again with the traveling and feeling safe, Sri Lanka was another place which was extreme. I mean, I felt it just felt like you know things here. It's not
yeah.
something that you don't know. And locals were extremely sweet. They were helpful. And in some of the countries, the locals don't interact much with travelers, but I think that's okay. Whenever you get a chance to interact with them, jump on it and talk.
Yeah. We have a question that asks, do you have any plan in case you fall sick or you hurt yourself?
Okay, so falling sick, staying in, I mean, that's the best plan. I know it's very difficult when you have days planned as to
Yeah.
what you want to do, but you can't move. But at that time, you just have to stay in where you are and rest it out. In case you hurt yourself, so there are some cases which I am very careful of. I don't go to hiking. I mean, I don't hike or trek anywhere which is, which has a difficulty level of medium and high on my own. I will never do that. I can have a trek for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or a hike to the nearby place, which is okay. But knowing that you don't have anybody around you, it's only safe to not, venture out on your own on a place where you can get hurt, you can fall. Weather is mostly unpredictable in these areas. So yeah, it's better to have somebody. You can maybe go with the people you're staying with, or there is a local. I mean, there are the places where you stay. They provide you facilities for local guides as well. So
Right.
you can probably take one of them. But yeah, staying
Right.
in, resting it out, feeling a little better, hydrating and eating well wherever you are. I think that's important.
Okay, and in hindsight, how would you have tackled a recent, bad experience you may have had while traveling? How would you, if you're looking back at it now, how would you have tackled it differently?
Um, so there have been a couple of times when I was not careful about the timing as to when do I have to return,
Hmm.
and I was literally shitting in my pants when I was on my way walking back to my guest house. But
Hmm.
on the way, I did call my the person who was hosting me. So I think taking care of the time as to when do you want to, head back, how much time the conveyance is going to take you is really important. I know why I didn't get up on time because I was feeling so good sitting at a particular place and looking at a beautiful sunset, sipping
Yeah.
my tea. I did not get up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so. The one good part is I don't know how to answer this as to how I would have done it differently because most
Hmm.
my plans in a day are eased out. I am
Okay.
not running from one place to another. I remember when I was in Hong Kong for Above and Beyond, I was there for 5 days after the gig got over.
Hmm.
On the paper, on the itinerary, the plan was power bag. I'm not
Yeah.
kidding. Out of those 5 days, I was just roaming around. Sometimes in the local markets, sometimes I went out for shopping. There's this beautiful Buddha statue which is there. I'm forgetting the name. All my friends were scheduled to go out there. I didn't take the train. It's spaced out, so it's
Yeah.
consciously thought of. I mean, I would not look back and do something differently. And I won't lie, there is a bit of FOMO. It
Yeah.
was there a lot. It still comes in. I mean, you just feel like you're missing out, but I think I have worked on upon it a lot to come to a place where I'm like,
Good
okay,
time
I
management. Yeah.
might as well chill for 2 more days, might as well go around and go to the same cafe twice because yeah, they have good food and sit there and chill and talk and just don't know, just do whatever I feel like doing. So yeah.
I think that's a good pointer. We have a question for trips to the mountains. So Nida
Mhm.
asks, would you say going with camping groups is better, or probably planning a trip just by yourself is better for trips to the mountains?
I think both of them they're better. It's just like where you feel comfortable with. Going with camping groups is great because you meet fellow people who want to meet other fellow travelers like you.
Yeah,
So the kind of conversation that strikes in. It's beautiful. I mean it's just so much more than just meeting somebody outside. I think
yeah,
it's on individual's comfort. If you want to go on your own, of course, start small. If you
yeah.
want to go with a cooking group, great. I mean, just make sure that that's a valid organization that you're choosing, and they have done some prior camps, and maybe just read their reviews. But yeah, camping groups are fun. It's a lot of fun.
It sounds fun, I think. I think you'll probably end up meeting some people who, change your life completely. And
They
some
do.
stories
The
I've heard.
words. Yes, they do. They definitely do.
So, is there an incident that taught you something that you never realized you had to learn?
I think on top of my mind, I can think of this thing. In Sri Lanka, you meet a lot of travelers. I mean, I met a lot of people on the train while doing the normal commute. So, especially stressing to that part of your question where you
Yeah,
just said that you don't think you need to learn.
yeah.
I met people who are nurses at the hospital. I met somebody who was a tube driver, a train driver. I met someone who was a technician. I met people I met so many people with different professional backgrounds that I never thought it's all about conditioning how we have here. We're made to look down upon a certain professions, but
Right.
you go outside and meet them, they just have the similar kind of stories and who are you, what do you do also comes as a secondary thing. So opening up to so many, it's kind of a social topic I was hearing the other day. Like it's just the profession. You don't have to look up or down upon somebody. I think we do a lot of that in India, and everybody, it's there, it's imbibed there. You just got to pick it up consciously out of your mind that it's okay, it's just a profession. Somebody could be a cab driver, somebody could be a train driver. I was so intrigued when I met this guy who was a tube driver, and I did for once I didn't even know what questions to ask. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting, and I just asked how's the experience. He's like, oh, I enjoy it. I'm like, great. So I think opening up the perspective to understanding that everybody is doing their best in what they're doing. They are meeting you at a place where you've also come to travel. They have a family, they have a life, they have a lot of experiences which may widen your horizon on things that you would not even sit down and feel a need कि यहाँ पर you have to widen your thinking, but it just happens. I think meeting many people from many professional backgrounds is something I really enjoy.
Well, I'm glad you did. I do genuinely think, you need to expand your horizons with the kind of people you meet and talk to or share ideas with. It can't just be one particular field because
Right.
you'll saturate yourself over time. So coming back to, the perks and the obstacles of traveling and so solo traveling, what does solo traveling bring to the table in comparison with traveling with a group?
Okay. Great. That's a good question. I think I was intrigued a few years back to see what it has in for store. Why is everybody talking about it? Of course, there's no pressure, but yeah, that was one of the other reasons why I probably stepped out. And so yeah, I think it helps you. I'll just tell you from a very personal point of view, and most of these things are cliched, but they are extremely, extremely true. A lot of times, you don't know where you really feel comfortable because you have
Yeah.
been living between people, you have a strong support system. It
Yeah.
really teaches you a lot about your own self. I will only come to know if I'm venturing out on my own. A
Right.
lot of people, when they are traveling solo, they do. There's a difference of preference that people have when they want to stay in a particular place. So my preference is I like staying in hostels for I think 50% of my trips because there's this part of meeting so many people, and the initial days of being in a place, if you're in a good company, you tend to explore the place more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you learn about yourself a lot. I mean, that's one. There's a huge boost in confidence. It's so real. Like you may have not even done something great in your day, but you may just feel like, wow, I'm on the top of the world. Just
Yeah.
because you're feeling good about whatever you're doing. A simple act of choosing a place to go and visit and being there it sounds small, it's a big deal to get yourself
Yeah.
ready and be there with all the precautions and all the research. It's a big deal, so it definitely boosts, yeah, the confidence boost up is great. And there's nobody to nag around. You can sleep for however long you want. You can eat how much ever you want. There is no complaining. You can probably sip 10 cups of coffee or tea, read whatever you want, wear whatever
Yeah.
you want, sit in whichever way you want. I mean, you can just be on your own. It's just fun. And I mean, some problem a lot of people face is that they're bored. That's
Yeah.
like two kinds of people. You would know, like a kind of category who's bored and people who are not, which is fair. I mean, okay, if you're bored, then step out and explore.
Yeah.
Your plan is your own. You don't want to go out, don't go out. You want to go out, great, go out. You want to experience something, do it. You want to talk to somebody, do it. Yeah, it also helps you feel. A lot of people are shy. I am shy when I'm outside because it's not very natural to get up and talk to somebody, not here at
Yeah.
least. Or we just see it on sitcoms that people do that. I mean, while traveling, the one good thing is that you feel a little less shy because there are so many people who come and talk to you, and just because they would want to know more about you because they're travelers like you. So I think, yeah, meeting people and again the perspective that their story is open to you is a good enough deal to try solo traveling once. And it's like to each his own experience. I may have tons of experiences with solo traveling. I may not be able to, they may not be clicking, but I've met some beautiful people while traveling, and they're connected to me over social media. A couple of I have met a few people, I think 7, 8 years back, and they're great friends with me, like one in the close circle. Yeah.
Yeah, you told me a story about this beautiful lady that you had met and how you guys planned the trip together and all. But it sounds very lovely. It really
Yes.
does.
I mean, I didn't. So she lives in Australia. I'm
Hmm.
not sure whether Ali is watching this or not, but I met her in Hong Kong, and she was eager to try vegetarian food with me in Hong Kong, which I was dying to eat. So it was very sweet of her, and we were discussing, and I just invited her that you should come to India. We'll go to mountains, and I think 4 months after that, next thing we know is that we met in Delhi. She had
Yeah.
booked tickets, and then we went to the mountains. And now in on April 1st, she was supposed to land in Delhi again. We were supposed to
Oh
go again,
no.
but couldn't. So
Yeah, but it
yeah,
will happen soon.
so met few. I've met good people. Yeah, I don't talk to all of them, but it's a good.
Yeah, I'm glad you had that experience. Someone just asked whether you plan on vlogging your journeys.
Okay, that's a good. I mean, never thought about it. I mean, honestly, I have a DSLR. I remember buying it with my hard-earned money, but with all this light packing and not carrying a lot of stuff, I kind of don't even carry that. But yeah, maybe I've never honestly sat down and thought about it. I just click some pictures and make some videos from my phone. I should try. I think
You
I'm.
should. Maybe start vlogging from your phone or something. I feel like I love your photos. They're so colorful and vibrant. And like I said in the beginning, I live vicariously through your Instagram.
Thank
I love
you.
it.
Thank you.
I love it so much. How important is it to travel light?
It is extremely important because there are times when coming from I think traveling light, I still don't know how to travel light.
Hmm.
Still learning, and to be
Yeah.
honest, every trip that I've taken, I have made like the simplest of mistakes of not carrying the right gear, not carrying the right shoes, carrying ankle length socks when you have to hike, things like that which you should not experiment with, because you're
Right.
actually traveling kilometers away from your place. So might as well travel the right thing and travel light. It is really important because there are times when, if you're going in the interior places, which, yeah, I mean places where your cabs and your buses or your autos won't go, and you have to hike down to that beautiful homestay you have booked because you want that view and you want that entire comfort. You got to carry your own stuff. I mean, I don't really like asking somebody else to carry it, and there are a lot of localites who voluntarily would want to carry it because then you pay them, it's one of their jobs. But no, you have to carry it everywhere, so you got to be ready to carry your bag for 1 or 2 hours. I mean, keep that in mind and travel accordingly. It gets difficult because yeah, I mean, I'm still learning how to travel light and how to kind of not keep things which are not really required. Might as well repeat your clothes for a
Yeah.
couple of years and not carry a new one every day, because that really doesn't matter. It's just like, well, it's fun to pack things because you're so excited about your travel. You go do shopping. Yeah, it's natural, but it is important too. Mostly in the mountains, if you're going to a city, if you're going to another country, I think it shouldn't be a problem. You can, because
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of the infrastructure is such that there will be people, or you will have a vehicle to drop you to the doorsteps. But if you're traveling in valleys and places which are not commercial, then it's important.
Right. Speaking of the mountains, someone just asked, what is the best place in the mountains for a solo traveler to go?
Okay. In so Himachal and Uttarakhand, they have the connectivity from Delhi is relatively good. You
Mm-hmm.
can probably travel to either of the states. You can start with going to Rishikesh if you like. You'll have to study a bit about what kind of place you want to be in. Do you want to visit a commercial place, or do you want to visit a small hamlet village, tucked far away from a lot of tourists, just because you want to experience that kind of living for some days? I
Right.
think according to that, you can choose any of the places in these two states. Northeast is also good.
Yeah, I've heard rave reviews about Meghalaya.
Yes, it's good. It's just that the connectivity from Delhi everywhere is pretty simple to understand. And I think, yeah, North and Northeast, pick up any state, it's also beautiful. Just make sure that you know the kind of, before heading out, you have to know the kind of experience you're looking for. Some people may not like visiting places around the traveling time of the year where there are a lot of tourists.
Right.
Some people
Yeah.
might want a little calm and quiet, and I think
Yeah.
India offers a lot of places where you can actually go easily. Come to think of it, okay, solo traveling in Goa, not for partying, but exploring Goa is a beautiful thing. Explore
Yeah.
Goa, it's really beautiful. Goa in monsoons is beautiful. Hampi, I've not been to Hampi. My friends have gone there. I've heard about beautiful place. So pick up the place which is the most nearest to your hometown, or the place where you're working, or which is the most nearest to where you live, and try it. I mean, just make sure that you're in your comfort when you're going, because it's only over
Yeah.
time that you will have the confidence to travel far off. So yeah, travel in your comfort, travel around.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Uh, what's your take on people thinking of overseas destinations on when they're talking travel and not thinking about traveling around their own country?
Oh, I can be biased here. I mean, it's on an individual how they would like to plan their travel, because I know all of us, they put in a lot of hard work, a lot of savings, a lot of planning goes into how they would like to, spend those 8, 10, 15 days. I think
Yeah.
it's individual's choice where they want to explore, how they want to explore, because as I said, a lot of time and effort goes in the planning. Being biased, I think people who have not traveled India enough, which I also have not even traveled a part of India, but I know it's so beautiful and it just surprises me every time, be it the North India,
Yeah.
Northeast, southern side of it. However, I've not traveled to the South India properly. But yeah, I think give India a chance. It's lovely. It's lovely. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. People are beautiful.
I
One of the things that I have seen, I remember being in a corporate office where people are loud around you, shouting, किसी को गालियां पड़ रही है, कुछ हो रहा है, all these things.
Yeah.
When I was working with an NGO in mountains in Uttarakhand, it was a nice wooden setup. I saw people working there with the utmost of politeness, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, some work was not done, and it's like a boss talking to the person who was
Yeah.
supposed to do the work. And she was so humble, and I kept looking at her, and I'm like, lady, how are you so patient? You got to print these things out tomorrow. The work is not done, but people are so polite and so humble. It just makes you want to sit back and reflect as to, is it really that important to stress yourself every time for even the simplest of things that people do in the cities? And I mean, I do that a lot, and you have to consciously think of not reacting that much. And yeah,
But do you think responding or actually reacting rather than responding is something that's come from living in a city where you want everything instantaneously? You want your food fast, you want your work done fast, you want your deliveries fast, you want a client to approve a design fast or anything.
yeah, because patience to kahin nahi hai na. I mean, nobody really is sitting down with a bucket of patience. You have to
Yeah.
keep reminding yourself to be patient. That's not. I mean, a very few people I have seen, they have the patience imbibed in them. Imbibed in them. I mean, because everybody else is rushing. I, I mean, I am. The way I would rush my mornings to make sure I'm at work on time is different. I mean, you're rushing for your breakfast. Come on, you're supposed to sit down at least for
Yeah.
15 minutes and mindfully eat it. And,
Yeah.
I think uh, I think it's a very rushed up setup that a lot of us have built around us unintentionally. And we really don't know where to start from if we want to unclutter it. I mean, there's your gadgets, there are tons of mails that you have to do, there is existing work that you have to do, as you said, designs, approvals, changes. And with the
Yeah.
lockdown, the work has increased, everything has increased. So yeah, I think life in metros and of course in tier 2 cities, it is rushed up. All of us are living that. I mean, let's be very honest about it. We're just so worried about what next and how to wrap this particular thing as quickly as possible so you're free, but you're not really free. You're, filling that free time with something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think uh yeah, that's why, I mean, go travel and see people living slowly. It's just that they see people just chilling full day. I mean, I don't mean that don't work. I mean, yeah, but be a little conscious about how you plan your time and don't rush into the things that are lying ahead, because there are 10,000 things and there's only so much time. So, anyways, you're not
Yeah.
going to do everything on your own. But yeah, just probably take it one by one.
I want to understand what is the one place you want to go to as soon as the lockdown lifts.
I think Uttarakhand was on my. We were supposed to go to Uttarakhand. I really want to go to Vietnam. I have not been there. Vietnam and Cambodia. Plans were there, but nothing happened. So one of these two places. People laugh when I, give them two distinct places, but that's the truth of the matter. I mean, either this or that. Either maybe another country or maybe in Uttarakhand. Yeah. It's just that that was the last thing on my mind. And I've also not been to Arunachal Pradesh. And
Ooh, it
that's,
seems beautiful from the photos.
yes, that's one of the places that I think needs a little more planning. And yeah, I think I don't have any planning in place. But yeah, maybe someday I would like to go there as well.
Okay, so also you spoke about going to picking a hostel to travel. Why would you pick that over a luxury hotel?
Okay, so as I said that, so my over time I have started, you know, devising my itinerary and plan in a way that a part of it is budget and a part of it is sort of luxury. I mean, of course, if I'm taking only one holiday a year and if my budgets allow me, I would want to probably live luxuriously.
Yeah.
But if I mean, it's a choice. A lot of people prefer budget travel over the luxury travel. I mean, it's completely an individual's choice. For me, what helps is, as I said, if I am at a place for 6 days and if I'm living in hostel for 3 days, I am not on my own. I am not okay. Come to think of it, I have gone there on my own, but I always have fellow travelers around me, right? I
Yeah.
mean, somehow the places the Zostel has. I have been living in. I have like tried Zostel. I think the first time it was in 2011 or 12. It was a good experience, and I think it's just you just feel a little more comfortable in your headspace. I mean, tomorrow if I
Yeah.
wake up, I will go out and find a couple of people who are discussing what to do about the day. You can maybe tag along with them, or maybe from their experience, choose where you want to spend the next 2 3 days. So I think it's about the comfort, and I think for a couple of days, I would want to be on my own. So it's
Yeah.
like initial half of the week, or let's say 4 5 days, you're exploring, you are walking the place, you are just all out about seeing the new place. Last couple of days are for relaxing, where you actually feel that you have taken a vacation and there's no stress to run from one place to another. So I think
Yeah.
it's just the comfort that I have with some of the places. And especially if I'm going to a place for the first time where I have not gone before, Zostels is a first choice. If I have gone somewhere before and I'm revisiting it for the second or fourth time or the third time, then I would live in a place which is, I would just probably select a good guest house or a hotel that has the local feel to it.
Right. And how do you chalk out your traveling budget? And have you stuck to it at every moment?
No, not literally like to the point that that I have stuck to it. It's just that you have your broad budget in place. You know that your travel is going to cost you X. You know that your food and other activities are going to cost you X. So the one thing, according to me, where I can adjust is my stay. For the days I know
Right.
that I'm going to be out in the city, out in the mountains, or in the village, or wherever I am, I would not prefer staying at a traveler's suite or a hostel or a hostel or a place
Right.
where, yeah, I mean, the days when I'll be on the city on my food for a lot, I won't prefer I will prefer staying at these places. And so as I said, for me, it's like 60 70% of the budget is of the travel is budget travel. Remaining 30 40 is a kind of luxury travel where you just chill and not do much about it. So I haven't. I've never gone overboard with my budget because so okay. It's again it's a person to person choice. Some people cannot compromise in their sightseeing experience. I get it. It's totally fair. You are out there, you want to have a good time, great. Some people cannot compromise in where they're staying. So
Yeah.
I think it's how you have to kind of balance it. Personally, I don't think I have stuck to the budget to the T. थोड़ा बहुत ऊपर नीचे होता है, but not going overboard.
Right. And most of us in India, we are blessed with parents who are worried even if we don't sleep a good night's sleep. And so, forget, discussing about traveling to another place without them being around, irrespective of how old we are. So, did you have something like that with your parents, and did that change over time?
About my parents being okay with me
Yeah.
traveling. Oh yeah, my mother is still the one person I have to convince every time that I have to travel with friends or solo. Uh, it's very cute, how parents sometimes react. Like the first time when I told her I'm traveling on my own, Of course. So I was working in the. So I took up a volunteering job in the mountains because I wanted to be there for a month, and I didn't want to be not doing anything. Like I wanted to help. I wanted to just probably work with a couple of the NGOs. So I was so confident when I spoke to my mother, and I just said that, yeah, everything is sorted. My stay is sorted. There's work. I'll be busy. This, that. Honestly, the work bit was sorted. The stay bit was not sorted. Me reaching to that village from the nearest railway station, which is Kathgodam, it's in the Uttarakhand, and I had to reach to, I had to go to this village called Satoli. It is,
Okay.
I think, 2 hours from Nainital, 1.5 or 2 hours from Nainital. Those things were not sorted, but yeah, I think I kind of got her confidence that things are sorted, and I was connected with her every time. I don't want to give her each and every detail of things which is not planned. I mean, come on, you're not the only human being traveling there, right? There are public
Yeah.
transport. You can figure your ways out. Maybe you just don't have the pin on it. My mother is one person who needs to be really, really convinced before she feels okay about it. And even till date, I think I have figured out the way it works with her. If I have to travel somewhere, after a month, I have to start talking about it for next 20 days. That's how it is. I have to just
That's an
yeah.
interesting way you realized that pattern and help that.
So coming back to traveling solo and everything that it brings with it, there are a lot of people who like you also, for example, uh, who dream of going and living and working in the mountains or working in a remote space of travel. So how do you think people can do that?
I think one of the things which I have also done in the past when I first wanted to live there for a month is reach out to the NGOs. There are umpteen number of organizations working in the smallest of the small villages in India, everywhere. A lot of experienced volunteers are working with them. Maybe reach out to them, and when you're reaching out to them, might as well, the good part is to tell them yourself that how you'll be a good help to them. I mean, the
Yeah.
recruitment process is not like how we usually have in the cities. Just a it takes a simple mail and understanding of the work that these guys do. Maybe you can take care of their communication. Maybe you can write something for them. Maybe you can handle their social media. You can create some content for them, videos, audios. If you have a new idea with it, you can do that. So most of these places they provide. So most of them they don't pay you, but because it's a volunteering work, but they definitely provide you a place to stay. They take care of your food. Some places they ask you a minimum charge to pay, I think, which is fair. But yeah, I mean, just reach out and volunteer in any of the NPOs. They do organize a lot of activities. Activities like educating villagers on things, activities like running a cleanup drive. So I think people can be a part of that and volunteer for a couple of months. If they can do for more, great. They can also talk about a permanent job at that particular NGO or NPO after volunteering when they have kind of, when there's a comfort level between both the parties. So I think
Right.
that's one of the ways where people can really do that. How to live there long time is something that I also want to do, and I really, it's a very tiny dream that someday I'll be able to live there and work for long, at least 6 7 months in a year, if not completely 12 months. But I think that's something that I'm also on my way to figuring it out. Yeah, let's see if there's something.
Someone had asked in the previous video how you finance your travel. Do you
Okay, so
save in advance or do you have a particular, what's your approach towards financing your travel?
it's funny because it's only after I traveled solo for the first time, my outlook towards saving money changed
Okay.
to an extent that I will not buy a beautiful looking jacket in Zara, which may cost me 8,000. But I may think that I can buy a to and fro ticket to Delhi when I want to travel next to the mountains. So
Right.
I think it's just the experience that it gave me. Kind of, this is one of the examples that I'm telling you. It's not that I don't buy things. I don't go overboard with buying things, which
Right.
I mean, retail therapy for me does not work. I cannot go and buy things because I'm not feeling good. I don't want to buy things because they're on sale. Sometimes I do, not every time. Honestly, as a person, I don't like stepping inside the malls because somehow my top limit for being in the mall is 40-50 minutes. So yeah, I think that's my approach towards saving has been changed after I had traveled first. Because there's so much that you can see with, and you don't need to really save a lot. You don't need to, like, it's I've some people tell me that how can you be in in so and so place for 20 days. I mean, no, it's just about how you plan it. Maybe just don't. Maybe just have a cap of saving for 2 months and see if that's possible for you to do. And it's okay. I mean, I've been in Parvati Valley is in Himachal. I have been there initially when I was out of job. I had some bits of savings with me, and I think I exploited them to the last coin. So I was there for I think 8 or 9 days in 8 or 9 thousand. I think 9,000, which is also on a higher cap. I've met people who have stayed for 10 days in barely 3,000 because they're okay to spend in a certain way. Like for me, I cannot. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean that you just have to save. Just see your bare minimum comfort and go about it. And probably, if you want to travel overseas, I think the saving starts up pretty early. If you want to travel in the country, I think you can save. I mean, yeah, the states, the travel in India is really not. It's manageable. It's I'll say budget travel. It's just not how you choose to travel. Like if you have less savings, maybe you can take a plane, take a train. If you are okay spending in a plane, if you want to reach there early, have one more day to explore, take that. So I think having a cap on your savings is really important. Cutting down extra kharchas, which I'm not saying don't enjoy, don't have fun. Oh, by all means, go out, have parties, meet friends, do everything. Just maybe be a little conscious. Start small. Maybe start with saving 5,000 a month, if not more, or maybe little lesser, and see where else you can save. So yeah, it is in my mind every time to save for traveling. I mean, I don't want to land up at a place where I have time and I don't have money to probably book an overseas flight. I mean, yeah, that's the that's the idea. And there are umpteen number of blogs on the internet. They literally break down the expenses and finances. Like if you want to plan a 5 day travel from Delhi or from Bombay, they kind of break it down. So you kind of have an idea that if you're going to X place and if you want to live luxuriously, this is your money that you want to spend. Then you work backwards towards how you want to adjust.
I didn't know these existed. I would have definitely checked them out. I would love to.
Yeah, I think Tripoto also, I mean, I check a lot of blogs, but Tripoto kind of break down their expenses and their itineraries, and yeah, so it's helpful. It's pretty helpful.
What's a travel vlog that you really enjoy following? Because I know I like for India, I like Ronnie and Bati. I don't know if you've heard of them on YouTube.
I have no, not really, not.
So they were assistant. I think they worked in the film industry and they were working as ADs, and they quit their jobs and went and live and packed their bags to Manali or Shimla, one of the two. But they're there and they're setting up their life and they're vlogging their travels. And
Wow.
my friend actually introduced me to them, and my God, I just sat and I just, traveled all of that by just watching it. I mean, as sad as that sounds,
I have
but
massive respect for people who vlog because it kind of looks easy, but it's not. I mean, so much planning, and then they put together and give you a nice, beautiful itinerary. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a
Someone
great job
someone
that they
just
do.
asked, what is one second. Please ask what is Aditi's favorite mountain place for a break?
For
What's your favorite mountain place to go to for a break?
1 second. Um, so there's so you know this thing happens with some people that you don't want to reveal the name of the place sometimes because you're so you're so possessive about it because the place is
Yeah,
kept
you're like, I don't want more
hush.
people to know about it. Yeah.
No, no,
Just
I'm
give the second favorite.
sorry. I think I lost you.
Give the second favorite. It's okay.
Oh, second. Okay. Okay. So Himachal is my most favorite. I'm gonna be smart and Zainul's writing, why you can't pick one. Anyways, I'm gonna be smart and not give the name. Yes, Himachal is. I love going to Himachal. Uttarakhand is also beautiful, but I think Himachal is somewhere where I kind of like going. Parvati Valley is beautiful, and by Parvati Valley, I do not mean the soul. It has gone to drains. I don't mean that. Himachal, Jibhi Valley is a place where, yeah, Jibhi is the name. I just feel like
Okay.
it feels home.
Okay.
It's home.
Someone
So
else
there's,
asked.
there's
Yeah.
there's one more
Sorry.
place. I think that needs to be that more and more people need to be there and see that place. Kalpa, I'm not sure if a lot of people have heard of it or not.
I know. I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yes, it's in Kinnaur Valley, and it's just heavenly. I mean, it's funny when some places they make you feel like you're not worthy of being there. It's that beautiful. It's like you are kind of coming there and spoiling the beauty of it because if it gets exposed to more and more people, I mean, it's beautiful, but if people are traveling consciously, it's great. But I think Kalpa is one of the places which is. I've been there once last year. It's a long journey from Shimla, so you take 10 hours to reach Shimla from Delhi, and Kalpa is more 12 to 14 hours from Shimla. But beautiful valleys, beautiful way, driveway, and you just, it's just heavenly. I think that's one place which is my favorite, and you really need a lot of efforts and time to reach there. So yeah, you can't, you can't have just 2 3 days and expect to find that beautiful place. I think the more interior you travel, the more beautiful it gets. So Kalpa and Parvati Valley, these two places. Juhu. Three. I can't pick one.
So speaking of, people being more conscious, or you wanting to protect your place, there's a lot. I have, a lot of reports that I have read about people littering, or just spoiling places which are not, uh, not completely concrete yet. Let me put it that way. For example, even from what I know, I think Sunburn and Supersonic were cancelled because of the way people littered the beaches in Goa.
Yes.
Or, and I'm sure there's something like that happened with the mountains as well. So, how do you think people can be more mindful about how they are treating the places they visit?
It's pretty sensitive, this entire topic because while you were talking about this, you were asking this question. In my mind, I played more than 4 instances where people have littered and the other conscious travelers have picked up the stuff that they have left and stuffed it in their pockets and placed it in the bin.
Yeah.
It's really important, you got to respect the place where you're going. You got to have respect for the local community, and it's extremely basic. I mean, come to think of it, people don't litter in their own house. I mean, nobody likes that kachra lying there in their own house. They may just avoid it for some time, but they'll pick it up and throw. But they'll pick it up and throw right outside somebody else's house. It's that, that why do that? I, especially in the mountains, especially. So I have worked with one of the organizations in Corbett. They go by the name Waste Warriors. They're doing a beautiful job. They're doing such a good work. So our job was to go door to door and explain people about wet waste and dry waste. And those people were so sportingly, I mean, the people were not really educated like us city people. They understand. They have, most of them, they have their own composting on the back of their houses. Yeah. And while waste warriors would educate them, they would also collect wet waste and dry waste separately. And then we would have the big vessels to collect them and keep it on the back of the vehicle, and then probably, travel to another local village. And so there's no documentation in these places. You just have a sheet of paper, you kind of tick down that, okay, these 50 places are there in this village. You've kind of visited to all the places. So when people are taking so much efforts, a lot of volunteers are taking so much efforts to keep the community clean, to keep the space clean. I really don't understand why the educated travelers can't keep it clean. I'm really yet to find a place which is so clean where I don't find a Laysta packet lying on the ground.
Yeah.
It just makes me angry. I am not. It just makes. Yeah, you don't want to be angry when you're out there, right? Having your own time. It makes you angry to that level where, I mean, personally, I really do not mind picking the dry waste of anybody. But if I see anything lying around, I may be coming from a hike, I may be tired, I may have my backpack, I may not be in the mood to do that, but I think over years the mind has been conditioned that somebody got to see you picking up somebody else's kachra for them to feel bad and not do it again. So it's very important to, I mean, come on, the max you can do is carry a separate bag with yourself. Put the trash in there. Uh, uh, I'm not, so it's not about a particular city or a community, but a lot of people when they travel to mountains from Delhi, I get it, it's a weekend, you got to go, you have like 2 days, you drive down, you come back. I see alcohol bottles lying around, packets of chips, this, that, plastics everywhere. I mean, no, the least you can do is pick your own thing, take it to the nearest bin. So that's how I think one of the important parts of conscious traveling comes is, yeah, I think a friend of mine through this road that bring your own garbage bag. Of course, bring your own garbage bag. I'm not saying that don't buy water bottles. It's okay. It really is a very gradual process of not having to buy the plastic distillery bottle, but maybe buy one bottle and then maybe refill it again. Yeah, and just be conscious, just be respectful of where you are, and don't litter the place. It just spoils. I mean, more than spoiling the scenery, it just spoils something in your head so bad that, I mean, I could just get up and scold people on not doing that. And, it's very important for others to see that it's not like that it's my waste. So I definitely got to pick it. But if there's a waste lying around, it's an equal responsibility of somebody else also to pick it up and throw it. We're far away from doing that in the cities, but just takes a small amount of consciousness to do it. Not much.
Do you think the ripple effect of this can be made from, practicing it in the urban sections and then it moving on towards people who are traveling to remote sections? Or do you think it will start with traveling tourists and then them taking it back?
Sorry, the
Which one do
second
you
part.
think would work? I mean, so imagine trying to educate urban dwellers or urban citizens, right,
Mhm.
about waste management. Like even in Pune, for example, like you said, people traveling from Delhi on the Bombay-Pune highway, it's always littered, but it's also littered on the road to Koregaon Park.
Yeah, true.
So, do you think it makes more sense to start educating the people within the city, and so that when they travel somewhere else, they will, take care of it? Because there's always that mindset that आप घर में गंदगी कर रहे हो पर कहीं अगर बाहर देश में जाओगे तो कुछ नहीं करोगे ऐसे. And or do you think it makes more sense to educate travelers so that they take it back to their own respective cities? What do you think would be more effective?
I think educating people in their own comfort when they are in the city is really important. I'm not saying that okay, some people they really don't care about littering around. Some
Yeah,
people are so conscious, but sometimes it may not click to them that how they can be more eco-friendly, right?
right.
So I think the more people are exposed to reading these articles, the more people are exposed to taking part in these debates or online workshops, or it's just about the perspective change. I mean, I may not know that okay, I can do this as well, until I
Yeah.
read it somewhere. So it definitely starts with telling people in the city as to how they can, you kind of have to visualize your entire travel plan in your head. It will take 2 minutes. Sit down and visualize it, and maybe just keep an extra bag in your backpack. But you got to be really, yeah, it's just about being conscious. I
Right.
mean, yeah, it's about being conscious, and I think us, like city people, the kind of education that we get. I mean, mountain peoples and people living in mountain people and people living in the far off areas, they're not even that educated, but they understand what is needed for the environment.
Yeah.
We have a lot of resources at our exposure. We, it's just, I feel like if somebody talks to 100 people about how to be careful while traveling in India, outside India, public transport mannerism, private transport mannerism, airport mannerism, people will do it. Like, it's just that they don't know how to do it. They don't know what all
Yeah.
things they can take care of. So
Right.
I think we need more conversations around the conscious and sustainable traveling more than anything.
Yeah. Are there any resources available online so that people can teach themselves about it?
I so there's one this very famous travel content creator Shivya. She
Okay.
talks a lot about sustainable traveling.
Okay.
I'm sure there may be other resources. Don't really have a list of them right now, but many articles as to how you can be careful while traveling, how you can, it's like the search terms is like how you can travel by with the least of the waste.
Hmm.
Those terms like how to travel in an eco-friendly manner. So a lot of content creators are talking about it, and it's good. A lot of people follow it once they come to know about it. That okay, this they can also do. Mm, may not be there in their minds beforehand, but once somebody educates, yeah, people do. Except a particular section of people who really don't think कि उनका कचरा उनको खुद को उठाना चाहिए. They somehow think कि 10 लोग हैं चीजें करने के लिए तो हो जाएगी. Yeah,
I
it
hope that
just
changes. I
yeah.
genuinely hope that changes over time. I do feel that. Yeah. And moving on, so jobs with travel and tourism make up to about 10% of the global GDP. And now, because of the pandemic, that's going to really affect it. And,
Yes.
there was such a difference between, hopping onto a train and traveling before the lockdown and to get somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think people will probably think twice before they,
Right.
set out to travel anywhere.
Right.
So, what do you think can, because of the kind of livelihoods that depend on travel, I want to understand what do you think will change with our attitudes towards travel, one, and also how can we help the livelihoods of these people as individuals?
Okay, yeah, I think that's it's pretty concerning because we have a few states in India whose major livelihood is through tourism. A lot of people who don't, I mean, they depend all year round on tourism. So the one thing that will change is, of course, people will be more mindful of traveling.
Right.
They will, when I say mindful, a lot will go in the planning. Like, how can I explain it? Okay, suppose you have a day where you have to go from one city to another, and you're squeezing in 4 cities in 5 days. I think
Yeah.
the detailed itinerary is what I'm looking at. Would people will not travel intercity that much? I think the mode
Yeah.
of communication, the mode of conveyance that people take would kind of be not be that much. People will be more conscious towards travel. They will. It's scary, it's worrisome and scary that you even have to make sure that where you're going to sit next is going to be the place which is safe. So a lot of
Yeah.
sanitization will also be in the picture. The hosts, Airbnb, Hostel World, all these places, they got to kind of make some change in their communication online because I think sanitization would become the hygiene and cleanliness would become one of the major parts of travelers, one of the major things that travelers want to read. So they have to
Yeah.
highlight as to how they are making sure that everything is sanitized and budget traveling. I think people will be a little more flexible towards spending a little more money, finding a place which is clean versus finding a place which is cheap and doable. I think that's one of
Yeah.
the things which will also which will definitely kind of change the mindset. So, and if I'm not wrong, I think domestic travel will become slightly better. That's what I hope. It will become slightly better by the end of this year. But international
Right.
travel, I think we have minimum a year or year and a half to kind of resume onto that.
Right.
So I think people will think 10 times before venturing out. And oh yeah, road trips will be back. People will prefer
Yeah.
taking their own vehicles and going to the places as compared to probably booking a flight or taking a train or a bus.
Yeah. Like
Uh,
any public transport.
yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to become so conscious. I'm imagining while I'm talking because I've really never sat down and thought about it. But yeah, it's kind of worrisome. Tension हो जाएगा.
Yeah, I mean, so Airbnb released an statement saying that they were very positive because while they were going through losses right now, they're expecting a major travel boom after. And in the sense of people are going to get so tired of, sitting at home that they will all just go and go like, okay, chalo trip pe chalte hain,"
I
and get
hope
done
they
with
do
it.
that. I mean, I hope more and more people do that. I hope. Yeah, I mean, all my hopes again towards anybody who wants to go out and travel. But I just hope it's really safe. And yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be worrying after so many months. Also, there will be some worry, but you should cap the worry under 10-20%. Yeah, it should just be. It's kind of ironical. You want to feel free when you're traveling. Just don't want to have things underlining your thoughts. I just hope. I mean, it's you kind of asked me something I really don't know how it will turn out. Yeah, let's hope it's all gets back to normal.
Yeah, I hope only one way to find out is to wait, I guess.
Yes.
So, coming back to what I told you that I'll ask you this question later. In part one, we spoke about living slowly.
Yeah.
So, I want to understand what slow living is all about.
Okay. I'll. Okay. So to start with, I'll tell you the myths around slow living first, because if you
Okay.
want to understand it literally, it's like slowing down your living. That's how most people take it. I mean, my people around me, people who are my friends, it's a hard deal for me to explain them that slow living is not, reducing your pace in doing whatever you're doing. It's not that I'm sitting here on my couch and I don't want to move for like 1 hour. Okay, I'm doing slow living. No.
Isn't that procrastinating?
No, it's not procrastinating. It's definitely not procrastinating.
It's vegetating.
Sorry.
It's vegetating.
No,
No, I
it's
meant sitting on a couch. I meant sitting on a couch for 1 hour and doing nothing because I do that. I just vegetate sometimes.
no. If that's making you feel a little better, if you're feeling
Yeah.
energized by sitting on the couch and doing nothing, by all means, it is a part of slow living. But to prove it
Okay.
a point that somebody is living slowly and they're barely not moving from a place or just doing 3 things in the day, no, not slow living. It's a mindset where you are conscious about how you're spending time.
Okay.
It's like you are not rushing to the next thing. And the only thing beautiful that has happened in the lockdown is more and more people, without knowing, are living slowly. They are so conscious about where they're spending their time. And when I
Okay.
talk about rushing, it's a very urban example that I'll give you that I also do it on weekdays, because it's like, there's get up, you have this, you have work, you got to go, the office में 10 things are happening, you got to plan for your evening, you don't know खाने में क्या बनाने वाले हो रात में, ये नहीं मालूम है कि next weekend क्या करना है, किससे मिलना है, किसी को कॉल बैक करना था. So you understand the state of mind where your mind is actually not quiet. It's kind of just making sure that सारी चीजें टिक मार्क हो गई हैं कि नहीं. और अगर सारी चीजें टिक मार्क हो गई हैं और 10 मिनट फ्री बच रहे हैं ना, तो उसमें भी एक काम करते हैं, फोन ओपन करके कुछ और पढ़ लेते हैं.
Yeah.
उसमें भी हम कुछ और इन्वॉल्व कर लेते हैं, सो दैट एक और
Yeah.
चीज बचे. So the whole idea of not rushing through the non-essential things. By no means I'm saying that do not do things that are essential for you. Get
Right.
up, go to work out, meditate, eat good food, meet friends, talk to your family, do all that. Give it the time that it needs. Give it the consciousness that it needs. Do not like talk to somebody thinking about something else. Like be there what you're doing. Like be actually there in the moment and kind of enjoy the process of it. If that means that for 10 minutes you are sitting on the couch because you want to enjoy it, you like it, do that. You want to sleep, do that. But it's that mindset that I'm talking about, which has so many things going on in the mind. आज Friday है. Okay, imagine if we were not in the lockdown.
Yeah.
So वीकेंड का क्या प्लान है, ये करना है, वो करना है, अर्बन लैडर को बुलाना है या ऐसा करना है, सॉरी अर्बन क्लैब को बुलाना है, ये चीज सही करवानी है, गाड़ी खराब हो गई है, कपड़े प्रेस में देने हैं. द थॉट जब देना है तब बाय ऑल मीन्स गिव इट. Don't rush it up in your mind again and again before you're actually doing it.
Right. So let me get this right. Does it mean, while not constantly stimulating your mind because you have to, but also, taking a break and giving yourself that space? Is that what it is?
Yes, it is that. And don't get into doing things which are not essential. You can do something after 3 days, do that. It's so, a lot of it, nobody is to blame, but we are in a setup where so many people are doing so many things, especially in the lockdown. When you see somebody doing so many things, you immediately compare yourself that, यार मैं तो कुछ नहीं कर रही, यार मैंने तो ये नहीं किया. So it's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I feel it. I don't remember the last time I had opened the book that I was reading. It's been a month, and since like last few days, I'm thinking, यार book ही नहीं खत्म करी. I know I'm not gonna open it today. मेरे माइंड में
Yeah.
वो चलता रहेगा कि अरे वो बुक खत्म करना है, फिर उसके बाद एक और बुक किसी ने सजेस्ट की थी वो भी पढ़ना है, फिर उसके बाद ये मूवी भी देखना है, फिर ये वाला ऑनलाइन कोर्स भी करना है. So at what I'm doing at that very moment, I am not there. In my mind, I'm just planning my entire schedule. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but that takes away the essence of what I'm doing. I cannot be eating my food with phone in my hand. It's very simple.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that I have completely kept my phone away. I do check it like once or twice, but it's wrong. ध्यान तो वहीं पर है ना. You're not actually enjoying the thing that you're eating. One of the other reasons why people kind of feel hungry after, having a good meal also, because they're not consciously doing that. So
They don't realize that they've eaten.
yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
mindset, and it comes from the slow movement which was started in, I think, the 17th century, or if I'm not,
Okay.
I mean, I don't remember exactly. So the slow movement talks about the entire talks about a lot of aspects of life. Slow living becomes a part of it. Slow traveling becomes another part of it. If this becomes easier to explain, I'm okay. Like, let's not do 10 things in a day because you have to do them. Let's do 7 things in a day and cautiously enjoy while doing them. Like, be conscious about
Right.
feeling it, that okay, wow, I have made this meal today. So great. I
Yeah.
was not running around the place. I was not watching my Instagram. I was just literally putting all my feelings in making that meal. So yeah,
Right.
it is not slowing down the pace. It is just being conscious towards what you're doing at the moment. I mean, yeah.
So, if someone wants to practice it or who wants to read up more about it, what do they need to know about the concept of slow living to start with? Like, let's say someone who has a particular lifestyle where even through the lockdown they're always working and they're always, stressed out to a point where you feel like they're going to explode. So, what would you recommend to someone like that to start with a step one?
Okay, step 1, something very practical, something which I also didn't know it can be followed, but extremely practical. Take a lunch break, quick 15 minutes lunch break, and shut down the screen in front of you.
Yeah.
If you're doing a working lunch, take a coffee break, probably step up or get up from where you're sitting and just move away from your screen, because I get it, the lockdown is becoming like a nightmare when it comes to sitting in front of the laptop or the screens. So
Yeah.
just get up and walk around with your chat or coffee, and like for real, be down for 5 minutes. It's not. I know it gets difficult, but because your mind wants to get done with a lot of things. You want to
Yeah.
wrap up the day early at the end of the day. So I'm not saying it's easy, but maybe try and not think about it for 5 minutes. That's all. That's all. I mean, just
Right.
probably take the break for what its essence is.
Right. And what is something that you have learned from you practicing slow living?
Something that has personally helped me is, so I feel that all of us are exposed to so much information in our phones, outside, good information, news. I'm not saying it's bad, but somewhere
Yeah.
down the line, gradually it has become a cause of anxiety somewhere in your head. You see somebody doing
Yeah.
better than you. You're not in a secure place in your head, which is completely fine. It's okay. It's very human. It's natural to be there. It just troubles you. You feel anxious. You feel
Right.
like if you're not feeling anxious, you end up feeling like you are not enough in what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you try to give your best, if the other person has not given you the response that you were expecting, because in your mind you are expecting somebody to respond in a certain way, then you start
Yeah.
doubting yourself.
Yeah.
uh, I'm saying in your mind, you consciously keep thinking about everything, about the person you're talking to, about the person you're sitting next with, about your boss, about your colleague, about your client, about a friend who's not okay, about a friend who's traveling and great. We don't realize there are so many thoughts in our minds, like constantly going on, and it's there. I mean, let's not lie. Let's not, I mean, that's the truth of the matter. So the one thing that I have learned is it really helps me calm down a bit.
Yeah.
So I have to actually hook my mind and say that, no, stop it. It's okay. Because feeling anxious is extremely real. A
Okay.
lot of people feel like that and they don't know what to do. I have to keep telling myself to snap out of it, like, snap out of it. Snap out. It's okay. It's something that you're worrying which is not even there right now. Or
Yeah.
you'll have to buy tomorrow. So I think personally it has helped me eat my meals well and not rush through them. And not I'm still learning not to worry about a lot of things. Yeah, I think it all comes down to how well you're eating, how well you're hydrated, and I think because these two factors they really define the mood of your day. I may be having a bad day, but I may be well hydrated, and I may choose to eat something that makes me feel better. So I think slowing down a bit in a lot of things have started making me enjoy the simpler things in life.
Right.
The other day I was enjoying roasting fox nuts. I mean, right now we're in the lockdown, and I am so glad a lot of people who really they're just waiting to come at me and say that, oh, slow living, aram ki life, ye wo. I'm like, no, guys, you all are just living nicely. I mean, that's how you should be living. Yeah, because
Yeah.
there's nowhere to go, there are no plans to be made, and come on, I would never want to allow lockdown to make people follow this, but just be a little more mindful. It's okay. एक दिन में 10 काम नहीं हुए तो कोई बात नहीं. It's okay. कोई दिन
पहाड़
ही
नहीं
मिल
टूट
गया
पड़ा.
10 काम हो भी
हाँ.
गए तो कभी और हो जाएगा. Just do it when you feel like doing it. Yeah.
Right. So would you say that this is for people who have this constant sense of impending doom? Or saying that, okay, if this hasn't happened, for example, if I woke up and my milkman hasn't showed up, the world will end. So do you think this will help someone like that to think something like that?
It will. Not stressing on something which is not worthy of being stressed on that much, it will definitely help. It also one of the things that I've not spoken about while talking about slow living is it's really taking effort to look out where you are physically at the time as well,
Yeah.
and taking time out to probably just observe your surroundings and maybe look out and be there. And I'll give you a very relatable example. So suppose we're sitting somewhere and we just had the meal, and
Yeah.
somebody wants to sit there for some more time, but one person says that हो गया खाना चलते हैं यहाँ से. And क्यों चलते हैं तो हो गया ना, like this is what we came here for, so let's go and do something else, rushing up to something else versus
Yeah.
maybe sit there for 10 more minutes and not have that thought. I'm saying it's more about action. It's more about thinking than acting on something.
Right.
So yeah, maybe like get up after 10 minutes, just like ease down, finish whatever you're doing, and then do whatever you feel like. Don't just be there and think about what next.
Yeah.
And a lot of people also think of slow living. Another myth is that they kind of think of slow living as the simple living, which it is not.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
so, uh, if you think of it, simple living is more about it has to do a lot with materialism. If I say that
Right.
I'm following a minimalistic lifestyle, I will definitely mean that I don't own a lot of things and I am a minimal person. That is
Right.
completely different from slow living. Slow living is something which is it's related to the mind, it's related to where you want to put in your energy and time. It has nothing to do with materialistic things around. While simple living, you can choose to have one TV instead of two TV. You can choose to have the materials you want to,
Yeah.
simplify on. And yeah, the minimalism is through materials first.
Yeah.
Here, the thought is through your mindset first. I mean, you know where you're putting your energy and time in. So, अगर दूध वाला नहीं आया है सुबह तो उससे थोड़ी देर अच्छा नहीं लगेगा, बट उससे पूरा दिन खराब नहीं होना चाहिए और उससे माइंड ऐसे ब्लास्ट नहीं होना चाहिए कि अब क्या करेंगे एंड ऑल. ओके, नहीं आया है
Yeah.
तो आई एम श्योर दूसरे डेज होंगे दूध लाने के which you can probably work towards. So yeah.
Right. This is very interesting. I would love to read up on this. So thank you for introducing me to the concept of slow living because I personally had not heard of it until before. My mother, when I was talking to her about this, said she already knew what it was, but I
Okay.
didn't. So I'm going to read up on this and try to see. I mean, I do a lot of these things, but not maybe not consciously do them. So I think I'll probably read up more on this, and that brings me to the end of this episode.
All right.
So thank you so much for coming on board.
Thank you
And
so
I am so glad. I learned so much from you today. It was
I had a
beautiful.
great time. I had a wonderful time blabbering
Yeah,
about
thank you.
traveling and slow
Thank
living.
you. It was
Thank you.
very fun.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye. You too. Bye. Okay, so that was Aditi, and I hope you enjoyed this. This was a two-part series somehow because the conversation was so interesting and we just had to continue. This was take 20 of Stories with Shastri. I can't believe I've done 20 of these already. It is unbelievable, and I'm very surprised with myself. And if you have any feedback or constructive criticism or criticism in general, please send them my way and I would love to be better at this. And I'm always looking forward to that. If you enjoyed the episodes, tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like, tell me what could be better, and I hope that I end up pleasing you someday. Hopefully, let's see. And if there's anybody you want me to bring on, also let me know about that. I'll try to make that happen. This is Take 20, and have fun.